Welcome to Conversations with Sarah. I'm Sarah Reddan, therapeutic coach of SRTT, and today I'm joined by Alix, women's fitness and wellness coach, to talk about fitness. Hi, thank you for joining me.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. I mean, I've recently, a little while ago now, I came and guested on your podcast and we had a great chat about self-care. So I'm really looking forward to speaking with you and hearing about your approach to fitness. And you specifically work with women as well, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I work with women at all phases, really. I kind of started off being like a very general sort of personal trainer, and I've evolved over the years, really. So I do a lot of work with new mums, for example. So, in that healing phase, women particularly who need that extra bit of help. Maybe they're recovering from C-section, they've got a diastasis or tummy separation, they've got pelvic floor issues. So I help women with all those kind of things, kind of related to, immediately post-pregnancy, but sometimes, many years afterwards as well. And then obviously, I work with women on a more general sort of fitness footing through my membership and through some personal training that I still do. And I'm also a qualified massage therapist as well. So that kind of comes into a lot of my work, particularly with those those new mum clients as well. And, I'm also moving much more into the kind of perimenopause and menopause space at the moment as well, because obviously that's, it's kind of where I am. I'm in that phase myself. And I think, over the last couple of years in particular, lots of my clients, when I started this business, my son was just a year old. This was 9 years ago. And so at the time, the people I came across were all new mums. So I would work with a lot of new mums, and it kind of made sense. And it was, it was something that, I was and still am very, very passionate about. But I suppose a lot of those people who started me back then, they are now at the same stage as me. So they're all going, what's going on with this? Why am I having this issue? What's going on with my sleep? Why is this happening? And I was like, right, okay, as I normally do, I'm like, right, I need to get informed on this. I need to learn about it. And so I've done a really big, amazing course on it recently to learn more. And I'm just reading about it too, for my own purposes, but, because I really want to help all of those women who, are at that life phase as well and kind of want to know what's going on, what can I do about it, how can I get proactive. So I work with women across all those phases, really.
And what a beautiful thing to be able to do, to kind of grow your business alongside the client stages of life that they're at. I don't know about you, but there's so many things that come up with those stages that I wasn't aware were going to happen to my body. Like from pregnancy, and now I'm 45, so I'm in that perimenopausal stage of life. And it is only through kind of doing the podcast stuff that I've really sort of realized that, there's a lot of things I didn't know that I needed to know about my own body.
I think, I'm same as you, I'm 45 as well, and I sort of started having symptoms myself, maybe, a good 3 or 4 years ago, but at the time I didn't connect it to being perimenopause. So as an example, my periods started to get much heavier and my cycle started to get shorter. I always used to have like a 28-day cycle, and then it dropped down to 25 days. And then, I was bleeding for 7-8 days every month, and it was really heavy. And I was like, what is going on? And of course, we think perimenopause, menopause is all about periods getting lighter, further apart, less regular. But actually, one of the first signs is that kind of actually they get heavier, they get closer together. And you're going like, what is going on with my body right now? And at the time, like I say, I didn't realize, this is before I'd kind of done a lot of research and reading and education in this area. And it sort of opened my eyes to things, and that was the start of the journey for me. My journey of getting informed was kind of going, hang on a minute, this is my hormones, this is the start of those hormonal changes going on. And I think a lot of us don't recognize that. And I have this like real thing about, I think that, I don't think that lifestyle change can solve everything. I think some women are going to need, hormonal therapy, and, they totally should have that if that is what they need. But I also feel like if I can help women to kind of understand what's going on earlier, they can start to pick up on those subtle clues. Because I think what can often happen is we don't realize that is the perimenopause. And so we kind of carry on thinking, oh, well, there's just something weird wrong with me. I don't know really what to do about this. And then it gets worse and it gets worse and it gets worse. And then we get to a point where, we have no choice but to go straight for the hormone therapy. Whereas I kind of feel like, when we start to get those subtle signs, it's a really good time to take a step back, take stock, have a look at lifestyle, have a look at the lifestyle changes that you can make, and kind of use that to sort of make those changes earlier on. It's not to say that doing that will mean that you don't ever need hormone therapy or extra help, of course. But what it does do is it gives you a better chance of kind of getting further through that journey without necessarily needing it, or having just an easier ride of it generally. Everything can be a bit more even. I think it's almost like a little gift to have those little symptoms that come up.
Yeah. So where does exercise come into that?
Well, I think one of the things, one of the things that people notice is that their nutrition and exercise are not having the same effects they used to. Like the stuff that we used to do in our 20s and 30s, which used to work for us. Like, I always used to have this thing, I'd go on holiday and obviously I'd overeat, wouldn't exercise for a couple of weeks, etc., etc. I'd come back feeling a bit, bigger than I went away. And I kind of knew that, okay, well, do you know what? I'll just go back to my normal routine. I'll maybe do a bit of extra exercise. I'll maybe watch what I'm eating a little bit for a couple of weeks. And do you know what? It'll be sorted. Everything get back to normal. You get into your 40s and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, that doesn't work anymore. Diets become less effective. And, the temptation then is to go, well, do you know what? I'm just going to cut my calories more and I'm just going to exercise more. I'm going to do more cardio. I need to burn calories. And actually, a lot of that is then working against us and sending us, even further into that place where, we're noticing those changes going on. And so, for me, one of the big things that women can do at that stage is strength training, actually, is lifting a few weights. And it doesn't have to be scary, heavy stuff. There are ways and means of doing it and adding resistance work in. But I think, a lot of us have been conditioned to focus on cardio. It's all about the cardio, all about training, all about high intensity, right? And actually, high intensity doesn't necessarily work so well for us anymore. A little bit of it is great, too much of it, not so much. Because of we become less resilient to our stress hormones, and that releases stress hormones, and we don't want so much of that. So strength training is a really good thing to do, but then it also has an amazing knock-on effect on things like our bone health. It keeps our metabolism up, because more muscle equals a higher metabolism. It helps to protect our brain in the future, all sorts of things that actually we can do now. We've got the opportunity to really lay those amazing, strong foundations for the future as well. Strength training is always my go-to. Like, if you're not doing that, do it.
I love my kettlebell, not that I get it out as often as I probably should. I don't know, but I do enjoy it. I definitely I feel like that, kind of it helps with that mobility as well, doesn't it? Building the muscle, and for me, with sort of my health stuff, it's really important for me to be able to maintain mobility and having muscles that want to work with me, not against me. So it really does make a difference. So I'm wondering, like, the clients that you work with, so women that have kind of got children, young children, women that are going through that kind of perimenopause or menopausal stage, are often quite busy women. And maybe don't feel like they've got the time to exercise. How do you suggest they make that time or find that time?
Do you know what? I think we're all in this culture of thinking that we need loads of time to work out effectively. And we get our knickers in a twist about, oh God, well, I'm not going to be able to work out 4 times a week, so what's the point? Because I'm not going to get a result. It's not worth it, kind of thing. And what I will always say to women is that the most important thing is starting. If you're not doing anything at all right now, the only thing you need to do is start. Like I had a client who she's she's second time mum. Her little one is a few months old, and we were doing a session together the other day, and she sort of said to me, what would be the best like combination of workouts to do over the next couple of weeks? What is it that's going to get me the best results? And I kind of said to her, we'd spent a lot of time talking about the fact that she was struggling a bit with motivation, and she was finding it hard to do her homework, and she'd been kind of putting it in her diary every day to do the workout, and then we'll get to the end of the day, realize, oh God, I haven't done that workout again, I'll do it tomorrow. And what I said to her was, it actually, at this point, it doesn't matter what you do. That can come later, that stuff can come afterwards. What's important right now is that you just do something. So it's when you're in that place where you're not doing anything because you feel like you're too busy, because you feel like you don't have the time, then getting yourself het up about, well, if I am going to do it, I've got to do this, and it's got to look like this, and it's got to be this amount of exercise, and I've got to do it a few times a week, and then you're never going to do it. You're just going to feel constantly overwhelmed by it. So if all you do is one 20-minute workout a week for a few weeks, let that be enough. It does not have to be 4-hour-long workouts. It really doesn't. And, the only thing you need to focus on right now is, how do I start to build the habit? Because once you start to get the habit, you kind of go, oh yeah, this feels good, and I like how I feel when I do this. And then you can build on it from there. But yeah, I think for me, that's the thing. I see too many women coming, going hell for leather, thinking, right, they've just got to do all the things, and ending up feeling like they are getting nowhere because they end up giving up because it's too much. So it's finding your own balance and not looking around yourself at what everybody else is doing. It has to work for you.
Yeah. I mean, I find that with my clients as well. It's the kind of idea that, like, if we're going to do something, we're going to have some kind of plan for self-care. You have to do all of the things. Like, I can't just focus on just adding water in, drinking water, and that be the one thing that I remember to do for my self-care. I must do 75 things, and then it's just overwhelming, isn't it? And I mean, I know there's been stages in my life that I've been very much the all or nothing kind of idea. Like, if I'm not doing all of the things, then I'll just do nothing. I'll just do nothing. So what would you say to people like me who can have that tendency where it's like, I just won't bother, I'll start next week?
So that is really, really common. And I honestly, I've had £1 for every woman who come to me and said, I'm just an all or nothing kind of person. And I think, number one, you're not an all or nothing kind of person. That's just a story you've told yourself. I always believe that we tell ourselves a lot of stories that end up limiting us. And when we tell ourselves we're all or nothing, it's like a protection mechanism, so that when we don't do anything, we've got an excuse. So you can say, oh, well, it's because I'm an all or nothing kind of person. I don't have the time to do it all. So I'm just going to do nothing right now.
And you can't fail if you don't start. If you don't try, you can't fail at it.
Exactly. And we're trying to protect, our brains are constantly trying to protect us. And even though you might be saying to yourself, well, but I want to get fit, and I want to do this thing, and I want to feel stronger, and I want to do exercise, your brain is thinking, but I don't know what the outcome of that is going to be. So that doesn't feel safe to me, even though you think it's what you want. And even though you're wondering why you can't do it, the reason is that your brain is telling you, stay safe, stay safe, do what you've always done, because I know what, even though it's not the outcome you want, I know what the outcome is, and I like predictability. And so I think the first job is to actually tell your brain a different story, and tell yourself, actually, no, I'm not an all or nothing person anymore, and decide that you are going to allow yourself to do less. Start doing less. Like, if it's putting 2 workouts in the diary for the week, let that be enough, and stop beating yourself up. Because what ultimately will happen, if you keep being that all or nothing person, you are going to be on that roller coaster forever. You're not going to get off it. You are not going to get to a point where you can just enjoy the exercise, where you can create that habit. So if you can sort of start to tell yourself, okay, I'm not an all or nothing person. I'm a person that does what she can. I'm a person that does 2 workouts a week. I'm a person who thinks it's important to look after their health or whatever, and start taking yourself away from that thing in your head that's telling you, yeah, but I'm just an all or nothing person.
Yeah.
Because believe me, when you tell me that, you are not unique.
Yeah.
I think everyone's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm really unique here because I'm just an all or nothing person. And I used to say it myself, like I always used to, oh, I'm just such an all or nothing person. You're not unique. Every single person in the world thinks they are all or nothing. They're not. It's just finding a different way.
Yeah. So my thing is, I use the just for today mantra. So just for today, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay because it's just for today.
Yeah.
It's just for today. And then tomorrow, we worry about tomorrow. And tomorrow, when it's just for today. So it's that kind of real kind of that mindfulness practice of it is just for today. So just for today, my body needs water. Just for today, my body needs nutrients. It needs movement. It needs these things that just for today are going to be what it needs and move forward. And that's been a big shift for me because it's knowing that it is just today. It's just today. Don't have to kind of feel overwhelmed by all of the other things. So I think it's so important to make the commitment to yourself. And I definitely agree with you with the whole like scheduling in and stuff. You need to make time, you need to make commitments to yourself for the things that are important. Because we schedule everything else. And if we need to go to the dentist, we make an appointment, we schedule it in, we make a commitment and we go. So why would we not look at movement in the same way? It's important to do.
Yeah, and like, going back to the client I was talking about before, she, I said to her, look, rather than just every morning telling yourself, I'm going to do it today, I'm going to do it today, just put it into your diary twice next week. Tuesday, you'll see me on Thursday, and then you can do another one on Saturday by yourself. And, I know that that's going to make her feel a lot less overwhelmed. But also what it does is then, I said to her, because then what happens is on Monday, suddenly you've taken that thing off your plate, you can do all the other stuff. So even if you have got a couple of days a week where you're going to prioritize the exercise and prioritize that and do it first, you've still got another 4 or 5 days of the week where you can prioritize all of the other stuff. So I think that sometimes with fitness, we feel like, oh my God, suddenly I've got to put it at the top of my list all the time, but you don't. You just have to put it at the top of your list a couple of days a week. And then, it will grow from there. It will, but it might take a little while for you to kind of, once you start feeling the benefits of it, you're going to go, oh, actually, I'd really like to add another one in. So now I'm going to find a third day of the week, but you've already created the habit. So it's much easier to do it off the back of that. But yeah, I think, it doesn't have to be our number one priority every single day. It just needs to be a priority a couple of days of the week. And then you build it from there.
Yeah, and it is making that plan, isn't it? It's making the plan that's going to work for your life. So it's with the all or nothing, it can become, because I think back to me, my youngest child is 17, and when I had them, I very, very much fitness was my priority, and every day I would run around the park with the jogger pram, or I would go swimming, and but that was like a lot of my day. When I think about that now, I don't know how I made that the thing that I had to do and find balance. And I'm very aware, as I said, I've got this all or nothing kind of way of being with things, and I can get quite hyper focused on a certain thing. So it's like, I guess if you were working with somebody like that, like me, then what would your words of advice be for that, making that plan and that well-being that works in the reality of life, of having children and all of those things?
I think it's being flexible, isn't it? I think we get very hard on ourselves when we don't do what we've promised ourselves sometimes, but it's kind of knowing that it's going to be fluid. And one week you might do 4 workouts, and then the next week you might do 1. Doesn't mean you failed on the week 2. It just means that was a busy week, and it's fine. You pick it up and you do more next week if you can and if you want to. And I think as well, it doesn't have to be a big long session. Like, I think a lot of people are surprised actually how little exercise I do. Like, I think people probably expect me to be like working out for an hour a day every day. And I really don't. I work out a few times a week. I probably never do more than about, I'd say 40 minutes at a time. A lot of my sessions are maybe half an hour max. Because I'm running a business. I've got 2 kids, and I also don't want to spend my entire life exercising, because personally, exercise for me is something that enhances my life. It's not, even though it is my career and my job, it's not, I also understand it's not the be all and end all. Like, this has got to be something that feels good to you. This has got to be something that feels like it's manageable for you. And that's, it's still important. Like exercise is incredibly important to all of us for many, 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 many reasons. But it doesn't have to take over, and it doesn't have to, it's not the be all and end all if you miss a week. It's fine.
It's making that sustainable habit, isn't it? So that you can actually do it consistently. Because like, I think like when I reflect, because obviously coming to speak to you, I thought about some of the ways that I've been around exercise, and kind of trying to think how it might be for listeners who are in that stages, and the things that like past me would have benefited from knowing from you. And I think, gosh, like that particular stage of my life, there's no way I could sustain that, and it wouldn't have been healthy for me to sustain that throughout my entire life. So I'm going to a question, I just can't quite find it. It's like, so it's that kind of, how do we know what exercises are the right exercises for us in the stage of life, so that we're building plans that are sustainable and that can be fluid and do all of the things that you're saying that we can fit in? Like, how do we know what we need? How do we know what we need? That's the question.
So, well, I mean, I think number one, does it feel good to you? Does it feel like something you enjoy? And this is a tough one, because it's not to say that every time I go into the gym and I lift some weights that I'm like, yeah, I'm loving this. This is amazing. I'll be there going, oh God, I can't wait till it's over, kind of thing. But I know how I feel afterwards, and I know how I feel when I lift something heavy, and I know how it's going to make me feel in 2 days' time. It's the feeling I get after it as well as during it. So it doesn't have to be that the exercise you do makes you jump around for joy, but there does have to be an element of, actually, I don't mind doing this. So if you're not, so for example, I'm not a runner. I hate running. I've made myself do it in the past, but it just is not my thing. I don't enjoy it. In fact, I don't really enjoy any kind of like long, steady state cardio at all. I much prefer lifting weights, and and when I do a weights workout, I can get a good cardio response from it as well. So I can do both things. Two birds with one stone. So I don't run. And I can feel a lot of pressure, particularly as a fitness professional. You feel like, oh, well, as a fitness professional, I should be able to go for a 10K run, and I should be able to do a pull-up, and I should be able to do this, that, and the other. But actually, I'm like, no, this has got to work for me. It's got to be something that I want to do, I want to enjoy, and gives me the result that I want as well. Running does not give me the result I want. It doesn't give me the result I want in terms of what I enjoy. It doesn't give me the result that I want in terms of what it allows my body to do. It doesn't, it doesn't serve me in any way. So I'm not going to run, but I am going to do weights. And again, that's not to say that I love every single weights workout that I do. However, I know that it feels better to me. It feels like something that I don't mind doing. It feels, and I know that at the end of it, I'm going to be like, yeah, that was a really good workout. I love how I feel now that I've done that. So, I think that's the place you've got to go to. Stop doing stuff just because you feel you ought to. And I think that for a lot of us, exercise has become a punishment. It's become a way to burn calories. It's become a way to punish our bodies. It's become a way to like beat ourselves up for not being good enough. And when we approach it from that point of view, I think it's very, very, very hard to sustain for the long term, because it feels hard. We've made it feel hard. Whereas if you can approach it from, well, what's going to make me feel good? What am I going to enjoy? What result am I going to enjoy? What do I want to get out of this? Then you've got a much better chance of sustaining that for the longer term, because you've kind of tuned into, the positive things you want out of it, rather than the negative things that you're maybe running away from, I think. So yeah, I think it's tuning into like the positive of what you want to feel.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree with that. I've spoken about it on a couple of podcasts. I'm obsessed with roller skating, like completely obsessed with it. And that's my thing that I've started doing in the last year. And what I've realized is, to be able to do the roller skating, to improve with that, I need to improve my muscle condition, my core condition. So that's brought more yoga practice in. That's my using my resistance bands and my kettlebells, and not as consistently as I'm aware I need, but more so than I was doing before, because it's okay to not be perfect and to be growing and working. But because I want to be good at skating, it's made the other things more desirable to do because they help me improve my skating. So they're giving me something that I want, as opposed to, like you say, that punishment of my body. I
Absolutely.
absolutely love to dance. I love to dance, and you can put music on anywhere and dance anywhere. And the benefits, not just to the body, as you said, like to the emotions, and like I'm all about like the energy and that kind of experience of that. It can shift everything. So if you can find movement that fills your soul up as well, what a beautiful space to be in, that you're giving your body what it needs to feel good, to be strong, to be flexible, to be able to move you from place to place. But the mental health perspective, the way in which it impacts our emotions, I think sometimes we forget that just moving around really does help us feel so
Yeah.
much better.
And like you say, I think, you're doing lots of different things. You're not focusing on one thing to the exclusion of all else. You're like you're doing your yoga, you're doing your resistance, you're doing your roller skating, you're bringing all those things together. And I think that's the thing as well. We can make the combo that works for us. And, off that point as well, is that, one of my drivers, one of the reasons that I work out and I lift weights, and you sort of mentioned this briefly earlier on, is that I want to be strong. I want to be strong in my 50s and my 60s and my 70s and my 80s. I don't want to be going into a home because I can't get myself out of a chair. I don't want to be, worrying about, going places where you need to walk for 10 minutes because I can't, I want to be strong, and I want to be capable, and I want to be able to do things, and I want to be able to get a heavy delivery off the delivery man, who will tell me, oh, be careful, that's heavy. And I'm like, I think I'm all right.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to do those things. And that's part of what drives me. So it doesn't have to be that I get into every workout and I'm like, woo, yeah, this is amazing. But, what I do have to do is connect to, why am I doing this? How is this going to make me feel good? How is this going to serve me? And then it just makes it that bit easier.
It's that mindset, isn't it? So it is, rather than it being something that you're punishing your body with because you want to eat some calories, or like you feel your body needs to look a certain way to be happy with who you are. I think when you do shift it to that kind of, I want to be able to do this, or this makes me happy, or this lights me up, it does definitely, in my experience, for me personally, and I'm sure you see for your clients, it does make a difference to how you can approach it and how it feels more filling up your cup, as opposed to depleting your energy and taking time away from the stuff that you want to do in your life, because it's allowing you to do the stuff that you want to do in your life.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the things that this always persuades people, particularly to do strength training, is that we all start to lose muscle from our mid-30s onwards, right? And that muscle loss continues throughout the rest of our lives. Now, the more muscle you lose, obviously, the less strength you have in your body generally, but also, this isn't something I like to bring up all the time because I'm not really about dieting and calorie counting. However, muscle burns calories. So for every extra pound of muscle you've got, you burn an extra 50 calories each day, like just going about your life.
Yeah.
And when people sort of say to me, oh, my metabolism's terrible, my metabolism's shot, it's not what it used to be. I'm like, that's because you don't have as much muscle. So if you think about the 15 years between your, when you're 35 and you're 50, if you've lost some muscle in that time, of course, by the time you get to 50, you can't eat the same things you did at 35 because your metabolism, I can never say that word, is not what it used to be. So actually, if you want to keep eating the things, and if you want to, keep your metabolism high, do strength training, build some muscle. Like that is really, really important. And obviously all of the other effects, such as, stronger muscle equals, stronger bone health. As an example, so you're going to be less likely to suffer osteoporosis and breaks and things like that as you get older, which a lot of people suffer from. And once you break your hip, your life expectancy takes a huge dive, massively. So I think that I think when you can tune into those things, like, oh yeah, I want to keep my metabolism high, I want to still be able to eat the things that I did when I was 35, I don't want to have to eat less and less and less and less as I get older, and I want to be strong, and I want to be able to move easily and move well. And it starts to make people rethink slightly their aversion to that.
Yeah. What about for women who say, because this is something I've heard said, like, I don't want to be muscly, I don't want to look masculine in, with my body. What would you or what do you say to that?
Well, I think that is doing a disservice to women who do look like that, because the amount of training that they have to do, the amount of work that they have to put into their nutrition in order to look like that is quite phenomenal.
Yeah.
And believe me when I tell you that you doing half an hour of weights a couple of times a week is not going to happen.
It's a lot of work goes into looking that way.
I don't think anybody would accuse me of looking too muscly or too big, too built at all. And I lift weights really regularly. The reason that men build so much muscle is because they have more testosterone than us. Now, we do have testosterone, and testosterone is important to women, but we have nowhere near enough for us to build those kind of muscles without some proper serious training, and the focus on nutrition as well. They will be taking various supplements, and they will be eating tons of protein each day, and they will be and also you have to really build lots of muscle in a serious way. You have to actually eat excess calories. So so women who have done that, what they've done is they've eaten excess calories, mostly in the form of protein, to allow them to build that amount of muscle. And then once they've done that, they then cut the calories drastically very quickly, so that they then get rid of all the fat that's associated with that, and they are left with the muscle. It's a complicated process to look
so
like
it's
that.
Unlikely we're going to accidentally fall into that kind of body shape. It's something we have to work extremely hard to achieve.
Yeah. Once you realize the process of doing that, I've got a client, in fact, who I've just recently stopped working with, actually, because she decided she wanted to actually do some heavy lifting. She wanted to do some powerlifting, in fact. And I'd got her to a certain point, and powerlifting, and we're talking about squatting your own body weight plus and things like that, is not really my area of expertise. So I have sent her on to a trainer who that is her area of expertise, because I felt that she needed that kind of that extra support.
So she's got a niche kind of thing.
Yeah. However, she, by the time that we finished working together, she was squatting 50 kilograms on the regular, 50 kilogram barbells on the regular. That is a lot of weight. That takes quite a while to build up to. I know that she's lifting even more than that now, because I still keep in touch with her. She is in no way big, huge, muscly woman, and she is lifting properly heavy. So even from somebody who's doing that a few times a week and is lifting the really heavy stuff, she still doesn't look like that, because she's doing nowhere near enough. She is getting strong, she's getting toned is what she's getting. And that's the thing. We all say I want to be toned. There is no such thing as toning a muscle. There is such thing as building a muscle. You've got to build a muscle for it to be toned. So don't be scared of it.
And that, I think, is probably bringing us to the end of our time. And that feels for me like an okay place to end. Are you okay with us finishing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. So is there anything you want to leave the people that are listening with, to go away with, to think about today?
Yeah, definitely. I think, we've discussed this briefly today already, and that is, stop trying to do all the things. I come back to this over and over and over again, because it's, we're all tempted to try and, if somebody tells you, do this exercise program to get this result, you want to do it all. And then you get halfway through and you're like, oh, I'm a bit bored of this now. It's too hard. I haven't got enough time. I'm getting bored of doing the workouts, etc., etc. And then you just stop altogether. So, my big message to everybody, whether it's fitness, whether it's nutrition, whether it's self-care, whatever it is, stop trying to do all the things. It's like, I'm trying to be more eco-conscious at the moment, use more natural products, less plastic, more organic, that kind of thing. I could get my knickers in a twist about all of the different things that I need to do, but I'm just doing it a step at a time. I'm getting this week it's buy a new spray cleaner. Next week it'll be find a way of using a bit less plastic when I go to the supermarket. Whatever it is, do it a step at a time, because otherwise you get overwhelmed. So yeah, stop trying to do all the things.
Stop trying to, and that's perfect. Yeah, start where you are, take the small steps, make it a consistent habit, enjoy what you're doing, make it something that you actually want to do every day, like every day of your life, because you enjoy it, not that you're punishing yourself for existing. I think that's perfect. So thank you so much. Thank you for being my guest today. It's been great to speak to you. I've enjoyed talking with you.
No problem. Thanks for having me, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you to those that have listened. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. To connect, find out more about me, my guests, follow SRTT Self-Care on your favourite social media platform. I'll be back next Wednesday with a new guest. Until then, stay curious and be kind to yourself.